This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. I apologize for the little delay on the audio side of the business. You know what I'm saying? OBS did a bunch of changes, and I'm trying to figure out where everything is and what's happening, so my screen looks all crazy to me on my end. Hopefully it looks good to you. It should look good to you on your end. But ladies and gentlemen, with the Knicks making a couple of signings, seemed like it was probably a good time to go ahead and break down the offseason and kind of figure out what we think they did and give them a grade. You know what I'm saying? So we got Tony Crow in the building. We got Steph in the building. We got Josh in the building, Uncle Fulio. And we're going to take a look at what the Knicks did in the offseason, break it down, and give them a final grade. You know what I mean? You know everything that we did, but we want to tie it up in a nice package, a nice little bow. Send it off where it needs to be so we can really cue in on the upcoming training camp. You know what I mean? So let's get around, see how everybody's doing, and we'll get busy. Steph, how you feeling today? All right. Give me 1 second. I think I need to adjust something because I'm not sure that picked you up loud enough. Could you try that again, Steph?
Yeah, I said I'm doing fine. Hope you, Tony, and Josh is doing the same. Looking forward to the show.
Yeah, no doubt. Josh, what's going on with you, man?
Salute, Sam, Queen, Tony. Always a pleasure to be here. Happy to wrap up this offseason, and let's start talking training camp and getting into the season. You know, we've been waiting for this whole summer for it, so I'm ready. Let's get it going.
Yeah, let's get it. Tony, what's up, man?
Salute, Sam. Salute, Josh. Peace, Queen. Let's go.
Let's go, man.
It feels like it's been a minute. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. It seems like it's been a super long off season, right? Which it has, but it's also been active. When you think about it, it's kind of been active for the Knicks. Right from the draft, the Knicks started being active in preparing for the offseason. We all know what they did in the draft. When you look back at it right now, how do you feel about what they did in the draft? When you look back at, they basically traded out of the first round, right? Drafted Kills in the second round, freed up cap space so that they can sign Jalen Brunson. Looking back at it right now, after everything is said and done, how do you feel about it, Tony? I'll start with you.
Well, just to take it back to when it happened, I think I was probably the most calm or the least upset at the time when it happened. I foresaw it being a play for the future. And all in all, I'm probably not super excited, like we about to win the chip, but I like the move. Like I feel like we haven't got a chance to really appreciate the Brunson signing the way we should have because of all the hoopla and speculation with Donovan Mitchell coming right afterwards. So I feel good and I'm optimistic.
Okay. All right, Josh, looking back at it now, how do you feel about the draft, what the Knicks did in the draft? Because I've seen some people say, well, you know what? If they would have drafted Josh Okogie, I mean, not Josh. I don't know who I just said. What's the guy that got traded to Utah? No, the guy that got traded to Utah.
Your guy too.
The Kansas guy,
Agbaji. Right. If they would have drafted Agbaji, then he would have been someone else that they could have thrown into a trade for Donovan Mitchell. I seen that floating around on Twitter and in other places. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, the purpose of the Knicks not drafting there, basically they wanted to gather up more assets. But looking back on it, I feel like it was a blown opportunity a bit because we didn't get the Donovan Mitchell trade done anyway, right? We saved assets by not drafting, by, trading away that draft pick, and we didn't accomplish the particular goal from that particular move that we did. So to me, I feel like it was a wasted opportunity. I don't think it was an opportunity that is going to cost the team in the short term. But I do think it was a wasted opportunity to get another asset, perhaps add somebody to the rotation, or potentially use that potential asset or that draft pick in a particular Donovan Mitchell trade, or a trade for anyone for that matter. So that's the way I feel about that still to this day.
So, okay. I mean, I really don't think having that draft pick or having that player would have. I think there were so many other things in play when it comes to Donovan Mitchell. I just don't think that particular player would have sweetened the pot or did whatever. I think there were too many other things in play now that you look back at it. You know what I'm saying? Steph, how do you feel about the draft now when we're looking back at it?
I kind of agree with Josh. I mean, I remember at the draft party saying the Knicks, this will make sense if the Knicks get their target, right? If they get their target, this is going to make sense. I remember saying that then. They didn't. They thought the 3 unprotected picks would help sweeten the pot for whoever, they were going after, and it didn't. And they didn't even value it enough to say, okay, I'll give up 3 protected first because we'll have these 3 unprotected first because we'll have these unprotected here and we think they're valuable.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even think it was that valuable. So I feel like it was a lost opportunity to add talent to the roster. You look at Miami, went to, I believe it was the finals. My memory is short. I believe it was the finals. They added talent to their roster. Milwaukee added talent in Beauchamp. Dallas added talent. Like all of these teams who were championship level, contending teams, playoff teams added talent to their roster. And we didn't. That's that's how I see it, and we turned it over. Again for assets that we thought we were going to use. We had an opportunity to use it, and we didn't. To me, the ends justify the means. If you don't get it done, it didn't work out. That's how I see it. Now, if they turn around and do something else, we can revisit it. but as of right now, that's how I feel.
But do you think that player would have played?
It's not about playing.
It's not about him playing.
Having the talent on your roster. Look at the guy. I keep getting his name wrong from Miami. Is it Vucevic, whatever his name is? You just have talent on your roster that you're bringing up. Beauchamp on Milwaukee, he may not play, but you have talent on your roster that you're grooming and you're moving. We won 37 games. I don't think we're at a point where we can't continue to add talent to the roster and groom them.
Not to mention, an actual draft pick is more tangible than 3 conditional first-round picks. It's an asset that you can actually move. It's much easier to move that than paying 3 conditional first-round picks that are all protected. So not just to play, but you can also move that asset.
Can I push back a little bit? Queen, you say we didn't get our guy, but I mean, I can argue that we did get our guy because we got Brunson, and I think that's what the move was made for. Remember, the one of the picks was moved with Kemba, which also opened up the space we needed for Brunson. So I think we did get our guy. I don't think at the time of the draft they knew that Donovan Mitchell was about to be available. I don't think so. I don't think one had anything to do with the other. You also mentioned us revisiting it. And that was going to be my argument, because we're still in position to make a move moving forward if we have to, if the right player or right situation arises. So it's not like we really lost the asset. And then to Sim's point, was the guy going to play? I think it does matter because, I mean, we're struggling to play the guys we have who we all agree have some talent. You know what I mean? Like, so are we going to draft a guy that's better than the guys that are struggling to play now? Or what? Or, I mean, maybe not. I mean, Doran was there. But will he be playing above Mitch, above Hartenstein, above even Sims? I can't say that definitively. So that's what I mean when I say I think it does matter, because if the guy doesn't play, where is his value?
Can I
Go ahead.
Real quick. So first of all, the Knicks had enough money to sign Jalen Brunson. Kemba Walker wasn't the only offloaded piece this offseason. You also had Alec Burks, who you offloaded, also Nerlens Noel. So we had enough money to sign Jalen Brunson. The second thing is, I don't think Mitch signed his contract yet until after the draft.
But maybe
Mitch didn't sign his contract yet.
True.
And
he didn't.
Right. So if we draft someone like Jalen Duren, maybe you let Mitch walk somewhere else. Right. So I think there was a way for the Knicks to actually get a draft pick and have it work out for us. It could be Duren, it could be anybody else. But again, that asset, having that asset there and actually using it, drafting it, you don't have to play it. You can also move that asset in another trade, potentially Donovan Mitchell. That's exactly what Cleveland did in order to get Donovan Mitchell. They had someone who they drafted and they used it, a part of the package, to trade for Donovan Mitchell. Maybe that considered a first round pick
factor.
I don't know if it came down to it.
I don't think he was a swaying factor.
He may not have been, but he's just an asset to be used in a package.
Much more tangible one at that, because they actually drafted him.
Here's the thing. I will say this. I agree to some point, because I think we all agree that the Knicks could have beat the package. So the fact that we didn't go beat the package, I think that's a different argument than...
That's not even what I'm talking about. We're talking specifically about the draft and the grade for the draft, and looking at the draft itself. How do we feel about it? And I remember at the time saying, you know, if they use these 3 unprotected picks for something, then it works out. You know, if not, I would prefer to add, you know, talent to this roster. Now, and I believe that was the case, you know, was the money so tight that signing a first round draft pick would have meant you could not have signed Brunson?
Nope.
See, I think,
I don't know. It depends on where that draft pick. I think it depends on
what he ended up getting, because we wasn't even expecting that. So that wasn't even in our mathematical equation.
Yeah, I
the money
think
he got.
I think it depends on not who we drafted, but where that person was drafted. If they were drafted in what did we have, the 9th pick, 11th pick? I don't know how much that player would have made. You know, $6 million maybe. It could have been a factor. I think that the Knicks still would have been able to find $6 million on the roster.
Correct, and get off
but
those other guys they did, and eventually anyway.
You know, but also my question is, because they, you know, like they got off of Noel, they got off of Burks, they got off of Kemba, would they have been able to get off of those guys? Because, you know, that was all mixed up in the same moves. Would they have been able to get off of those guys enough to be able to pay Jalen Brunson what they're paying him? But
I think that was a separate trade with Detroit, though. The 11th for the 3 firsts was with OKC. The other ones was with Detroit.
Right, but I think.
But it was all draft night.
I mean, I don't know if the 11th for the 3 firsts. I have to go back. I guess I have to really go back and look at it and see how they connect, how and if they interconnected.
I mean, if it came down to, if you didn't trade that 11th pick, you would not have been able to sign Brunson. That's a different story. I don't think it came down to just that, just that 11th pick. And I don't want to go too far back, but just keep in mind the choices the Knicks made while we had to give up picks to get off Kemba for space when he only had 1 year left. and why we still needed a point guard when we had cap space 2 years ago and could have signed a point guard.
True. No, that's definitely true. I think, it's probably still remain to be seen. What do they do with those picks now? I don't remember what exact picks they received from OKC or what they received back. But at some point, those picks are going to come due, and you got to either draft the players or move the picks down the line, or figure out what you're going to do with them. So that's going to determine, I think, really how this draft ended up for the Knicks.
And I just want to say that my stance is they wouldn't have got Brunson without making the moves they made. I said that draft night. So and we didn't know Donovan Mitchell was even in the equation at that time. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I look at it as two separate things.
Yeah, we're not even talking about Donovan Mitchell. Or at least I'm not even talking about Donovan Mitchell.
Well, I mean, you just said you don't think the draft trades determined us getting Brunson. I do. Like that's the difference in why we I guess
Tony, the Knicks had multiple ways to get up. The Knicks had ways to get off some of that salary in order to open up some cap space.
It was $4 million or $5 million.
There's not a lot of money. They could have found other ways to do it except for trading that draft pick.
So the Knicks received the 2023 first round pick from Detroit, 2023 first round pick from Washington, and a 2023 first round pick from Denver. Right, all of them were top three. Not top 3 protected. Detroit's was top 18 protected. Washington top 14 protected, and Denver top 14 protected. All right, that's what they also received. Jalen Duren. Obviously, they ended up moving him on to Detroit. The Hornets received the 2023 first round pick from Denver. The Knicks, a 2023 second round pick from New York, a 2023 second round pick from Utah, 2023 second round pick, the most favorable pick between Dallas and Miami, and then a 2024 second round pick from the Knicks. Then you had the Knicks Piston trade. The Knicks received the 2025 first round pick from Milwaukee, and the Pistons received Jalen Duren and Kemba Walker. All right, so the final haul for the Knicks was a 2023 first round pick from Detroit, 23 first round pick from Washington, a 25 first round pick from Milwaukee, and $18 million in cap space.
And that's my point right there, because we didn't take any salary back and we got rid of Kemba. Had we not made that move on draft night, we would not have the money for Brunson. I'm not talking about the money we would have spent on the draft pick. I'm talking about the money we got rid of, the cap space we received. And that's the way I looked at it then, and I still look.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with Tony. I feel like the move set him up to be able to sign Jalen Brunson, as well as be in the conversation in the event that Donovan Mitchell or somebody else was available. But now those two 2023 draft picks, will be coming up this summer. They've got to figure out what's going to go on with them, right? So, they've got to either move them down the line, draft somebody with them if they actually come due, or wrap it up in the trade. So I guess we'll see how that eventually works out.
And they have to convey because they're heavily protected, top 14, top 18, and all that.
Right.
So they have to convey. I think the only one that we can really look and say that will convey is the Wizards pick, the one that's top 14. That's the one that you can really say.
That may, but the Bucks.
And the Bucks.
But that's 2025.
But 2025, yeah. I'm talking about the ones for next year.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see how that eventually works out. And then you got Trevor Kills. The Knicks drafted Trevor Kills. After watching him in Summer League, I wasn't impressed. I know he looks like Josh, or he looks like Josh. Josh is older than him. I know he looks like Josh. That didn't make it any more impressive. But I wasn't impressed. And was anybody impressed with him? Or feel like, he's a guy that you can look at and say maybe in the future he can be something for the New York Knicks?
It's always possible, but I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, I can't say his future is bright, but because of his age and the fact that he's coming up under a farm system type situation, I think that enhances his chances of becoming at least a decent, role player or whatever down the line. But where we got him for his age and all those considered, like I think he has a chance to live up to his draft status. You know what I mean? Like like second round picks, there's no guarantee they even stay in the league. So yeah, I think he's right where was drafted.
Yeah.
We
ahead,
can always use another Theo Pinson.
Does he have that kind of personality? I don't even know if he has that kind of personality. His age, yeah, I think that's definitely one thing he has going for him. I don't know. When I seen him play, I was like, all right, I guess, we'll see. What happens with him. He's on a two-way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on a two-way. Him and can't think of his
Hunt,
name.
I believe.
And who?
Hunt, I believe.
Hunt. Yeah, Farron Hunt. Him and Farron Hunt are on two-way contracts. So I guess we'll see where that goes from there. After the draft and one other thing too, Josh, you mentioned about Jalen Duren. If the Knicks would have kept Jalen Duren, they could have moved on from Mitch. I don't think the Knicks had any plans to move on from Mitch. And that's probably why it wasn't even part of their plans, or thought process when they did receive him. I think they were, they just had to wait or not had to, just waited for whatever time, to re-sign him. So I don't, maybe that was it there. They were like, we got Mitch, we're going to rock with Mitch. And then, of course, right after the draft, once free agency started, they signed Isaiah Hartenstein. And I feel like that was part of the plan. Like, this was a guy that they were looking for. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts on that signing right there as we start moving into the signings?
Hartenstein?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was tremendous. I thought the 2-year, $8 million a season was tremendous to be a backup big. You can put him at the 5, you can put him at the 4. I really like that signing. Now, it's not, the signing's a little bit different than draft night. I'll definitely say that. I'm much more excited about the signings. I thought that the contract structure, the amount of years they have, the amount of money per year, average annual value, I thought it's phenomenal, particularly for Hartenstein. I think that's a great contract for someone who's going to be coming off the bench. And providing some really helpful minutes and someone who can do different things on the floor that Mitch cannot do. Mitch, or if it would have been Duren, cannot do. And I think that's going to be really good for the offense. So I really like the signing of Hartenstein.
Okay. All right. Steph?
Same. I echo those same sentiments. I like his skill set and I like his contract.
Yeah. Tony?
I just want to say if I'm grading the draft, I'm going to say B-. Nothing that blew me out the water, but after sitting with it and thinking about it, I understood what they were doing. Hartenstein, I love the signing. Changes, like, he brings a different dynamic than we've seen over the last however many years. Can we even say we've seen it really from the Knicks? I don't think so. And that's just him at his regular skill set without talking about potential or can he get better or anything else. Like, just who he is today. Mm-hmm. It's just a nice modern big, you know what I mean, that we haven't had. And I think it's a great move. Probably undervalued throughout, like, the league's perspective.
Yeah. Do you look at him do you think he's one of those guys that could be a glue guy for the team? Just like, I mean, he's not going to do a lot of everything, but, a hustle guy that's going to bang a little bit, be able to grab some rebounds, block some shots, maybe dive on the ball for loose balls, be one of those type of players. He does have good size, and I've always, with this particular team here, I felt like the Knicks missed those kind of guys that are going to do some of those little things out there on the floor. And I feel like he could be one of those guys within his role, right? He's not going to handle the basketball, and stuff like that. He doesn't shoot a ton of 3-point attempts, but he can shoot it. Do you look at him and see him as kind of a glue guy or anything like that?
I think that's a perfect. I was thinking connector, but listening to you, it's the same exact thing that I was thinking connector, glue guy. He's not going to be somebody who's at least immediately on a scouting report. So his hustle, the way he works hard, from what I've seen, even from what I remember, not looking at highlight videos, but looking at or remember me seeing him play live.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hustle guy. Like, he's a guy that you know what I mean. I don't know if he necessarily dives for loose balls, but he fights for rebounds. He fights for possessions. You know what I mean? Like, he's definitely going to be a glue guy. And then he has skill sets. That passing, underrated. You know what I mean? Like, if that ever develops or even becomes some type of a staple, with something that we actually use and go to create offense, I think that's something that we haven't seen either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think he gives us maybe a little bit more size down low, right? Just a little more beef, because I don't think we've had that. We would always worry about, okay, when Mitch has to guard someone like Joel Embiid or whoever, I think he adds a little bit more beef. Any other thoughts on Isaiah Hartenstein?
No, Queen, you got it. But
I mean, when I don't know, when I think of glue guys, I think of guys that's not very skilled. So I could be off in that respect, but I see him as a skilled big.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that can stretch the floor for us offensively. He can rebound. He can rim protect. I don't know. I doubt with the players that's going to be out there with him in the second unit, if he's going to be a hub, of the offense, in terms of his playmaking. But when he does get the ball, I could see him seeing Obi over the top, for alley-oop. I could see him seeing people for the three. So maybe I just have a different definition of a glue guy. I see him as a really skilled player. And I think he's going to bring a lot to the second team.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think his 3-point attempts pick up, Steph, on this particular team?
Yeah, because look at Noel. And so I think with Hartenstein, I think Tibbs is going to encourage him to take it.
Yeah. Josh?
Sam, real quick. I mean, I looked at his age. I know 24 years old. I think of glue guys as being a little bit more, a more veteran than just 24 years old. But this guy's been playing professional basketball for the last 7 years, not just in the NBA, but also in Europe as well. So I do think that there's a good possibility of him being a glue guy. I don't think the glue guy has to be someone with limited skills or what have you. I do think a glue guy can be someone who can come off the bench, can be able to, kind of be that veteran presence out there on the floor. And I think because he's been playing professional basketball for a long time, came over from the Clippers, this is not just his first NBA team. I think that he could definitely become that type of person for this team off the bench. Definitely think so.
Yeah, I kind of think of a glue guy as a guy that, and I don't know if he's like a diving on the floor type of guy, but, who just does little things that your stars ain't doing. You know what I'm saying? That, kind of help hold the team together, especially in moments when maybe your offense is struggling a little bit or your defense seems to be a little bit ragged. This guy, makes a hustle play, gets a big block, grabs a couple of tough rebounds, while you're in there. Is not afraid to get in. I don't know if he's this guy anyway, but, is not afraid to get in someone's face if he has to. You know what I mean? I haven't seen a whole lot and known a whole lot about him and watched a lot of games. I never really focused on him, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? To know, everything that he does. So.
And I was just gonna, if I can add, what I like about my perspective of him or perception of him is you don't have to ask him to do those things. It's him actually trying to find a niche. It's him trying to find, his way of staying on the floor or being effective in the game. The type of things that Tibbs asks for, and we hear it all the time. I think that's his mentality, just to be like, yo, I want to stay in this league. I want to be in this league. You know what I mean? Like he's not, you don't got to ask him to do those things. It's just him and that's my definition of a glue guy. Like you don't have to ask him to do this, do that. He's going to figure out what I got to do to stay on the floor, what I got to do to be effective, what I have to do to have some type of niche. And then the skill set is just a plus because it's like, it surprised me. Like, oh, shoot, he could do that. Oh, he could do that too.
Right.
All right. Like,
right. Yeah.
Sky's the limit, I think.
Yeah. Kaiser Souls.
Small role.
Thank you for the super chat. He said, I find it laughable that we think Hartenstein is going to be some sort of difference maker. He said he's going to be another journeyman like we always get. I disagree with that. You know what I mean? And just because someone's a journeyman doesn't mean that they can't be a part of a team and have a role on a team. You need role players. You need guys that can do certain things that you can call on in a pinch. Hey, we need you to block shots. We need you to just come in and block shots. Or, you know what? We need you to spread the floor and try to knock down a couple of threes. You need guys like that on a basketball team. Everybody doesn't have to be, have this super duper skill set or, be great all around. Sometimes people just play a little bit of a niche. And I think that's what he'll do for this team here. I agree. I think that was an A+ signing for the Knicks. You know what I mean? Obviously, we talked about Jalen Brunson extensively. Anywhere from Knicks and Bruises to Dope Soul to here on the shoot around. I don't know if Josh has done anything besides show up on everybody's shows and talk about them. You know what I mean? But but we talked about Brunson extensively. I guess I'll start with just the contract, right? And I guess we talked about this too, but was it too much? Just right? How do you feel about it, Steph? I'll start with you because in the beginning of the offseason, most people thought, well, maybe he's going to get a $50 million contract, and now it's doubled. Obviously, his play in the playoffs helped push it up. What do you think, Steph?
I think it's fine. I mean, he's I think ranked 13th or 14th out of all the point guards in the NBA. I think $104 million is fine. You weren't gonna get him for anything cheaper than that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you probably wasn't. You know what I mean? Anybody else?
I'll go. I thought the contract was perfect. Not just for the average annual value, the fact that the contract is descending, which I think is important. It's going to be important down the road, but also 4 years. 4 years, and I've said it on many occasions, this front office seems to be doing those 4-year contracts, particularly for the people they want to see on the roster moving forward. 4 years, I think is a perfect time frame, kind of lines up with RJ, with Randall, and with RJ and Randall. And I just think it's a really good signing overall. I think this team needed a point guard. We've been talking about Jalen Brunson, not just this past season, but what he did the last couple years in Dallas. A lot of people have been saying, don't sleep on Jalen Brunson. And the connections were there since day one. Talking about Tom Thibodeau, talking about Leon Rose, and now with his father being an assistant coach, I just thought it was a really good signing for the organization, not just him, but also his contract and the fact that it's descending. So I love the contract. Love the signing.
Yeah, Tony.
I agree too. I have no beef with it. Like even initially, I'm like, that's a lot. But when you see the breakdown of where he's ranked and what he's getting paid, I think the number was 17 or whatever, 17 highest. Like I think that's super fair. Like Josh said, descending contract, which in my opinion makes him able to even surpass the value of the contract, his impact,
right?
Which I think is tremendous, and we needed him. So, Queen, you said it numerous of times. Like sometimes you gotta overpay for what you want, and supply and demand. Like there's so many different ways to look at it. Even me not wanting to be a hater when I don't agree with somebody's contract, like I try not to voice it. You know what I mean? Like it's not my money. So I have no beef with it at all.
And Brunson's been having a great summer, right? He got paid, nice contract. I think he just got engaged, something like that. You know what I mean? He's probably having a dream summer for a young man. That's it's great to see. Really, really good to see. Now, I agree. I think that the contract was fair. I think that he's a really, really good fit for the team, right? And the connection to Tom Thibodeau, his style of basketball play, the attitude that he brings to the game, his basketball IQ. I think it's almost everything that the Knicks needed in a guard. I'm hoping that he, like Tony said, like everyone has said, outplays his contract. You know what I mean? And to me, that doesn't mean that it's got to be that he's averaging like 20 and 8. You know what I mean? I think his mind is just as valuable as point production or his assist production, to this particular basketball team. So I think it was a really smart signing for the New York Knicks, a good signing, smart signing. The way that they went about signing him, I haven't heard anything about if they're going to get hit with tampering charges or anything like that. I don't know whether the investigation has been, and maybe one of those draft picks end up going out the window because of the Jalen Brunson tampering charges or anything like that. They probably wouldn't take one of those ones that they traded for. They would take the Knicks first round pick.
Hey, Sam, didn't those announcements coming like December last year?
Yeah, somewhere around there, something like that. Bo Ishmael said next week we will know. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I don't think they're gonna lose a first round draft pick.
No,
I don't think so. You know what I mean? So, we lose a second round, the Knicks lose a second round draft pick or something like that, it's worth it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's worth it to me. Now, after the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, and like Tony said, this whole thing with Donovan Mitchell ended up being kind of overshadowing us talking about Jalen Brunson and how he fits on the basketball team and et cetera, et cetera. I think it was an A signing with Jalen Brunson, right? Fit, contract, all of that stuff. I think everybody else, would you all say that was probably an A signing?
Yeah.
And then you get to Donovan Mitchell, right? And those entire contract negotiations. What's your thoughts there? Steph, I'll start with you.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I've talked about this ad nauseum.
Right.
I think, like, when we talk about overpaying, I don't even think this would have been an overpay. But when you are like we were in the point guard position, we paid $104 for Brunson, $1 million. People thought that was an overpay. Even if it was a position of need and it's something we needed for a very long time. You do it. I feel the same way with Donovan Mitchell. At the beginning, they were talking about all 7 of the draft picks and young players. That was a problem. We don't want to give up RJ. Fine. It got down to 3 unprotected picks and whatever else, and it was still an issue. Now, it's come up later that maybe there is some other stuff that might have been going on. But for me, like I said, the Knicks had the opportunity before Cleveland was even in play. They had like exclusive negotiating period. And in my opinion, this was your plan coming in as a front office.
Yep.
This was your entire strategy. And you had an opportunity to get someone in their prime, not even in their prime. And it didn't happen. And we can go all the different reasons why and this, that, and the other. It's about results. This was their strategy. They didn't get it done. And the Knicks I'll be generous and give them a C. But I'm thinking a D.
D for Donovan. Go ahead, Josh.
Is this a grade on the Donovan Mitchell thing itself, or?
Yeah, you can put a grade on the Donovan Mitchell thing itself. I mean, at the end we're going to talk about your overall grade for the entire offseason, but
I mean, I'll say C. I think that C is a passing grade for those of us who went to college. C is passing. So I think I'll give them that. I mean, I agree with Queen. I wanted the deal to get done. I think they had the assets to do it. That's the whole reason why you made some of the moves you did on draft night, in my opinion, was so you can have a lot of assets to be able to use, and we just didn't get it done, point blank. Again, I don't think it's something that's going to be catastrophic for the team. The team can still be able to move forward and progress forward. This is not a franchise killer, so to speak. But, just as a fan, it's just tough not seeing Donovan Mitchell in the Knicks uniform next year. Really tough.
Yeah. Tony?
First off, everything the Queen said was a fact. You know what I mean? And this is where I kind of do agree with you guys. Maybe even, like, I'm giving it a D+. You know what I mean? Which I think would be the lowest grade so far, because ultimately they did fail. They could have got it done. They could have did whatever it took to get it done if that's what they wanted to do. But on the same time, the reason why I'm not saying an F is because of the things Josh stated. It's not we didn't hurt the future. We're still in position to move forward and make the team better through the draft or excuse me, through the trades. Like, all those opportunities are there for someone else to take advantage of, or the Knicks to take advantage of with someone else. So, yeah, I'm gonna say D- because they didn't get him, and they could have if they wanted to. But I gotta give them some credit for standing their ground and saying, "Hey, there's a line that we're not gonna cross." And I feel like they played fair in their negotiations from everything that came out after the fact, and it may not have been an even playing field on the other side. So I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in agreement with Queen, Josh, you as well, Tony. I was disappointed when it happened. I wanted the Knicks to get Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I know you still have these picks for later and you can do things with them, but you kind of pushed your chips out there and said, when this is available, we're able to go and get it done. And I feel like they overplayed their hand. You know what I mean? Kept trying to say, we think we can bargain lower because we're the only team. We think we can bargain lower. You know what I mean? And even Knicks fans felt like, because things were coming out. Oh, the Utah Jazz are like this package that they received, or like this offer, that offer, and people are like, well, if they liked it, how come they didn't take it? You know what I'm saying? And it comes out that, there really was a package out there that they liked a lot and, benefited them as well as benefited the Cleveland Cavaliers because, they gave away a couple of players that didn't even play last year. You know what I'm saying? A rookie and Colin Sexton didn't even play last year. So I just felt like they overplayed their hand. Adding, and it wasn't like they had to add more picks. Just give them one that didn't have protections.
The quality of the pick.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And to me, you got to do it. You got to do it and get that done. So yeah, that I don't know. I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
In the fact that they didn't just get it done.
Sim, one last thing about this: the Knicks were reluctant to trade picks that were further on. They wanted to trade the picks that are coming sooner, right? I also think that matters as far as the quality of the pick, protections and stuff like that. Because basically what Utah got was they got an insurance policy that is, 4 years after Donovan Mitchell's contract expires, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what the Knicks were reluctant to do. And I know a lot of people were saying the Knicks were the perfect trade partner because we had the picks, but I don't think we had the quality of picks or were willing to trade picks that far down the line for Donovan Mitchell. So I think there is a world where I can see that the Knicks and the Jazz weren't the best of trade partners.
See, I think they had the quality of picks. They just weren't willing to give them up.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what I said. That's what I said. They had them. It's just that they weren't willing to do it, which didn't make them ideal trade
Yeah,
partners.
because I would venture to say that the picks could be better than Cleveland's picks, because the Cleveland Cavaliers getting Donovan Mitchell, you take the chance. You take the chance that they're going to be very good come that time, and those picks are going to be, lower picks in the draft.
But they control their picks. They control their picks 4 years after Donovan Mitchell's contract expires. These picks are later. They're not during. I think one of them. So you have to basically bet that Donovan Mitchell. Correct.
They're still benefiting while Cleveland is kind of holding the bag.
Of course, I mean, but
he won't resign.
Right. They thinking that he won't resign and then they won't be as good. But if he does resign and they're good, you know what I'm saying? Those picks. I mean, it would be the same thing with the Knicks, right? If he came to the Knicks and he didn't resign 4 years later, you know what I mean? What are those picks going to be? I don't know, man. I just feel like the Knicks had to get it done.
Yeah, I hear you, Josh. I think as a front office, though, that's a risk. Given where we are, that's a risk I would have taken, because it's not 100% that you'll be left without Donovan Mitchell and no draft picks. That's not a given. It's a possibility. And I just think, given where we are, given what your entire strategy was, I think that's a risk you take, and you trust in your front office that you would be able to rebuild if that happened. It would be harder. It would be a challenge, but you trust in your front office that you would find a way to rebuild if that possibility were to occur.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And he's not even the only, like, there's a world where he came, we traded for him and he left and we're still not bad. You know what I mean? Like, other guys still had that opportunity to get better, maybe surpass his level and all that. So,
yeah, so we've got to see him in a Cleveland Cavalier uniform. He's gonna come to the Garden at some point, and who knows what that's gonna be like. Hopefully, though, RJ is part of those negotiations. He was extended. The extension is great. The timing of it, obviously, you know about the timing of it and how it was used as a negotiating chip. But he was extended, 4 years, $107 million, and then he could possibly make $120 million.
Amazing.
It's a great contract. I think a fair contract for RJ and a nice contract for the New York Knicks. Any thoughts? And I know we've talked about it extensively, but any other thoughts that you've had about the RJ signing since we've discussed it?
I mean, it's a thought I've mentioned before, but I can't get it out my mind because, I've gone back and watched some of our old videos, and none of us was thinking 100 or 107 million. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, the excitement that I have that even with the incentives, it's less than what we thought, whether we were okay with it or whether we was like, oh, he don't deserve it. It's way less than what we all thought we was gonna have to pay him at minimum. So yeah, I'm super excited, and the fact that he took it, there's no grudge. Like, it's not the deal we gave Mitch. You know what I mean? Like, where we know he's undervalued. It's still a prove it deal. You know what I mean? It's still something that he has to earn or say that, yo, I deserve this money. But the fact that he could surpass it is even more exciting.
Yeah. There was something, I think me and Tony talked about it, and Tony said that maybe Steph brought this up on the show too. Do you think in those negotiations, RJ's agent was like, here's this deal, and I know you're talking about, the possibility of him being traded, but you need to get this deal signed now or we're not going to accept this deal. We're going to ask for more money or whatever it is. So if you want this deal to be good for you, possibly good for the Utah Jazz, you need to do it now. Steph, how much do you think RJ's agent maybe played a role in those negotiations.
That's the only explanation I can think of why the Knicks drew that what I call artificial line in the sand at that point. At that point in time, I just felt like they didn't have to. So the only thing I could think of was maybe the agent was involved, and maybe the agent said, we'll take this much at this point, but if you keep, if we got to keep holding on and holding on, we're going to go to restricted free agency, or you're going to have to pay more. I just didn't quite understand why.
Right? Because if, 1 second, Tony, I'm sorry. If they would have come, let's say the Knicks and Jazz would have came to an agreement, they still could have said, all right, well, we're going to sign this deal either with the Knicks or with the Jazz. The same exact deal. Right? The agent could have been willing to do that with either team. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking too. The agent played some kind of role in setting up that deadline to make sure that his player got his money.
And just before Josh go, because I read afterwards that the Knicks wanted to sign him, wanted to wait a little longer, maybe right before the season, or even go into restricted free agency, or at least some members of the Knicks.
Yeah, right.
It's
right.
about 50 of them, some members.
50. Right. Tony?
I just want to say, I don't think it even had to have been RJ's agent. I mean, we talking about Leon Rose, who comes from that whole world and is one of the I don't want to say GOATs, but you know what I mean? Like he knows his stuff. So that could have been something he came to RJ with. That could have been something that he knew was a viable contract for RJ and used with the Jazz. Like, hey, he's willing to take this. So it's not like you gotta, like, what you're getting him for, or what you can sign him for moving forward. So I think Leon could have came to that discussion and said, hey, what do you think about this offer right now? You know what I mean? We're putting it on the table. I think it's fair. You know what I mean? I don't even think RJ's agent had to do it. I think Leon could have come to the table with it, coming from that field and knowing the inner workings and learning the inner workings of the GM side of it. So,
I mean, but I just wonder why they would have executed the deal at that juncture, though, and why, even if he did come to him, you know what I mean, why he would say, we're going to do this right now. You know what I mean?
Waiting is dangerous. We've seen what happened with Jalen Brunson. He's on record saying, hey, I wanted 55. Yeah, I mean, he's on record on saying, like, this is what we came to them with, and they didn't want to give it to us. So the fact that we know what could possibly happen if we don't do something beforehand or early. I mean, granted, we had some weeks before the season start and all that, or a month. So yeah, you could have waited a little bit, but I don't know how much that would have changed anything. And I think it was a fair negotiating tool in the trade discussions with Donovan, because now you're saying, hey, you guys are playing around. Like, we're offering you our most valued asset at this particular junction. So y'all want to play ball? It wasn't like they said, take this deal or not. They said, if we can't figure out a deal by this date, this is what we're doing. You know what I mean? So they were still negotiating time in that period when they gave the ultimatum. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought it was fair and good, or a fair negotiating tactic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got to move forward.
How was it a good negotiating tactic when you made a possible trade more complicated, not impossible?
No, I'm saying fair. I didn't say good, fair.
Yeah. I just felt like it was like, it seemed like the negotiating was already intense, and it was just another thing to, to fan the flames. You know what I'm saying? It just felt like they were already, at least from what we've heard, afterwards, it was already intense negotiations, and that just kind of, fanned the flames a little bit more. It felt like, especially where if the deal fell through, the next week you could have signed them to the same exact contract. You know, and I'm not even saying like wait until the season. It could have happened. It could have happened today. You know, or something like
who
that.
leaked it? You think the Knicks leaked it?
I don't know.
If the Knicks
Right,
leaked it, then I agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
If the Knicks leaked it, I agree because now it's putting the pressure publicly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now everybody could kind of talk about it.
Did the Knicks leak the deadline?
Yeah.
All this stuff we will never know. We don't know where the animosity came from or from what side and all that stuff. But I do think that deadline, that whole thing with RJ signing, it had to tie into the Donovan Mitchell thing because it happened right after the trade was announced to Cleveland. It happened right after that. So I definitely think that they were definitely connected in some way. Oh, yeah. How they were connected as far as the agent and who said what and all that stuff, that we will never know. But I definitely think they were connected. And, you know, it is what it is at this point. Personally, I would have rather waited to sign RJ Barrett, let him go into restricted free agency, make him earn his money if he's worth a max contract, you know, make him earn it, you know, prove his season, so to speak. But I am okay with him getting signed to the number that he got signed to right now because it is still a proven contract. So I'm okay with that as well.
So what's your grade on RJ's actual extension?
Oh, I thought it was great. It's an A. Oh, I thought it was an A.
Yeah, I'm with that too. It's an A.
Yeah, I think it's an A too, but you sound like, excuse me, I would think if it be in an A, how can you still say you would have preferred them wait?
I would have preferred them wait till next season to see, you know, to have him earn it. I want to know if RJ is going to be that type of max player for us.
So you also think you're okay with taking a risk of him earning more than that? Because that, you know what I mean? Like, because that was your concern, you know, in the past, how much we was going to have to pay him. So that, like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that we got him at this number, I agree. You should agree that it's an A, but you're still saying you prefer to have taken the risk of him earning a number that you wasn't comfortable with before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he would have potentially earned that number going into next offseason. So that's why I would have rather waited.
So let me ask you. I'm
comfortable with the contract.
So let me ask you this: the player that he is right now, the player that he is right now, is he worth the contract that he has? Well, the extension. The player that he is right now, is he worth that amount of money? To
Great
you.
Question.
I don't know.
Okay, because the reason why I asked that, because if he's worth that amount of money, then you would say, okay, well, the extension is what he's worth.
Yeah,
and then you got a deal. You know what I'm saying? You know, then why wait?
Because I don't know. I don't know.
All right, that's fair.
It's so many unknowns with RJ at this point. I just don't know. But I think that even if RJ, I'm looking at it from the perspective of even if RJ plateaued last season, right, and he's going to continue and play that same type of basketball statistically and what he does on the floor, even if he does that for the next 4 years, I think you can still move him. The contract is not so albatross that you can't move him.
Guys. Think about
but that's the way I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm looking at the contract.
RJ right now, who he is today, from what we've seen in his career today, if you compare it to his peers, that's a steal of a contract. That's what I'm saying. Like he's worth that today.
How so?
How not?
How so? How is he worth? How is RJ Barrett worth? Was it 20?
Have you seen the extensions that have been given out in his draft class?
Yeah, he's not even making that amount of money. So where's the comparison?
That's why he's worth what he got.
But we're not comparing him to what other people are. We just comparing him to how he's played.
Do you think he's worth that money today?
For where he's played now, I think he's $20 million a year player. For what I've seen up to this point now, he's a $20 million player. But what often happens in these contracts is you give them a little more based on what you think they're going to become. I think by the end of this contract, he will have earned $27 million a year, right? But I think right now, I say he's about $20 million player. But
and what I was saying was, even if he plateaus and still remains a $20 million player, the contract is not so crazy that you can't move it, that it hampers the franchise. So that's why I'm looking at it.
Again,
I thought it was still a great contract.
Preference waiting?
Because if he can
the risk is better. the risk is worth the reward. Or maybe I'm saying it backwards. But they took minimal risk right now. And waiting would have been a bigger risk, in my opinion.
Not for the organization.
That's what I'm saying.
No, if RJ Barrett turns to be a max player, to me, that's not that much of a risk. That's something that's a reward for the organization.
Right. But you got to
now. But that's why I'm saying waiting.
No, I get it.
Right. Taking a bigger risk. A bigger risk.
I get it. That's why I said the contract, and I love the contract. I thought it's an A contract. But I would have rather waited because I still want to know. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is because, they floated him out there for Donovan Mitchell, right? The Knicks need a star. They need a star player. And I think the Knicks believe in their heart of hearts that RJ Barrett can become that player. I get it. They signed him to less money. They can give him star money. But the Knicks need that more than anything, right? So for me, I want to see that. I think that's important to me and to the organization if RJ Barrett turns out to be a star or not. Whether we wait to next year, because we have to wait to next year to find it out, obviously, right? But I would rather wait to see if RJ Barrett's going to be that guy, that type of guy, before I would have given him money. That's just me personally. I would have rather waited, but we got into a good contract now. It's fine.
Yeah. I like the idea of being able to sign him to a nice contract, and if he becomes a max player, now you got a max player not making max money. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like that idea.
But so those are two different things now, because now you're talking about paying him a super max veteran extension compared to a rookie scale extension that is based on the salary cap. And he got drafted. Those two different types of money, two different types of signings. A rookie max is not the same as a super max from a veteran. They make $40, $50 million a season. It's two different things.
Yeah, but he's not eligible for that yet. He was only eligible for the rookie.
Tony, listen to what I'm saying. If RJ Barrett on his current contract turns out to be this multiple-time All-Star, All-NBA player, now you're talking super max range at the end of his current contract. That's more money down the line. If you would have waited and he earns a max contract at next offseason or whatever, that's a different level of money. That's the lower amount of money than compared to a super max contract that someone gets after signing a rookie extension.
But the super max would have been eligible. He would have been eligible for that down the road anyway. So that doesn't change him being eligible down the road for the super max.
Right.
That still would have been available after.
Because this contract doesn't kick in until after next season anyway. Right, so you still, even if you would have did it at the end of the season and re-signed them, to say a max contract at the end of the season, it would have been 4 or 5 years, whatever it was, and then he would have been eligible. It would have been
5 years.
Right, but then he would have been eligible for a super max after that.
Right, but you already gave him a rookie max at that point, so you're paying him a rookie max, and then if he turns out to be the super max player, you now have to pay him super max money as opposed to giving him what he got now. Right, and him earning a potential super max contract, that's less money.
It's less money now.
I think less money now. More money, in the long run, if he becomes that guy. I think it's more money in the long run.
Yeah,
and we actually save money now. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, that's the way I
regardless, I thought it was a good contract. Regardless, it's a good contract. It's an A contract.
Yeah, it's a really good contract, and I think that RJ. I think he's the kind of player that's going to respect the contract and use it as not I'm paid now, but use it as a way to motivate himself to say, I got to live up to this contract now or exceed this contract. And for his career, he wants to exceed the contract anyway. You know what I mean? But I feel like RJ is that kind of guy, and you can trust him. Do you think the Knicks look at RJ as, we're rotating around you now? Do you think, or is they're just like, no, he's a piece of the group? I mean, obviously he's a piece of the group, but do you think they're rotating around RJ right now?
I don't. I would say no, because they didn't offer him a max contract, right? If you think that that's your guy, even if he hasn't shown it yet, you still give him the max because you think over the course of that contract he will, right? And 2, they tried to trade him.
Yeah.
If you really believe that's your guy,
true.
you put them in trades.
Right. That's true.
I'm gonna say I think that they do think of him that way by him not getting a contract. I know, but I just think that they put him in that type of light by default. because they crapped out in the Donovan Mitchell trade. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it, Tony.
So you look at it as they got to push RJ now. They got to push it and make him the golden child because they didn't get Donovan Mitchell.
Absolutely. Fair and unfair. I know, Sam, you called it unfair a few weeks ago, which I disagree with because I think there's a lot of more context outside of the Donovan Mitchell thing. The fact that he was the third pick in the draft, the fact that this team needs a star player, I think all that kind of matters in this situation. And the fact that if you look at RJ Spears, who he was drafted with in this draft class, some players drafted before him and after him, they turned out to be franchise players for their organization. So I think all of that, you add all of that up, I think the Knicks are looking at RJ as the guy.
I mean, see, me being a third pick, to me, it doesn't factor in because he could be in another draft and could have been the 10th pick or 12th pick. You know, to me, where you're picked in that draft depends on the players that's in that draft. I more look at, okay, who is he? Who do we really have in this player? Which is still a very, very much an unknown for RJ. You know, every player is going to develop in their own pace. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've had players that came out the gate and looked like they were going to be stars and then fizzled out after their third or fourth year.
And he was the consensus third pick, and I still feel like, all things considered, he should still be the consensus third pick in that draft, in the redraft.
Over Darius Garland?
Yep.
Darius Garland got a max contract, and he was the All-Star, so just saying.
Okay.
That is true.
That's true. That's true.
Time will tell.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. You know, Zion Williamson's got a max contract and he's barely played. So
he also made an All-Star team.
Yeah, he did. He did. But he's barely been out there on the floor.
And that's why I say all things considered. And maybe I should have thought before I said over Darius Garland because my argument is still third pick. So maybe Garland jumps into top three as well, and Zion slips out because of the injuries.
Stop it.
All things considered, I said that intentionally. So with his injuries and the amount of games he's played, we don't know how healthy he's going to be. So yes, you still pick him number one or number two, knowing the games he's okay.
Probably number two. Probably Ja Morant number one, Zion number two, but he will be in that.
I don't know if everybody feels that way, or I don't know if GMs feel that way. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. When we talk about trading for him, I agree with you. I would still take the risk of trading for him, but a lot of people don't, and the reason why is because of the injuries. No other reason.
I find it funny how a minute ago you were talking about, well, he was still a consensus number 3 pick, and now but I got you. I got it.
I also said all things considered because somebody has to slide.
I got you. I got you.
You know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little scared about Zion and his future in the league. I just don't know if he's gonna be able to stay healthy. You know, with his his body size and the power that he plays with. If his body can hold up to it, the structure of his body can hold up to it. We'll see. I hope that he does. I hope he has one of the greatest careers ever. But I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see what he does this season when he plays. But either way, RJ Barrett was extended. So I think we all think is a really, really good contract. We'll see if he's able to live up to that contract. I see people say he's not a consensus number one and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if he is the consensus number one on the team. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see the way it plays out. And where he's grown, how he's grown.
He'll get an opportunity.
Yeah, I think he will. I think the opportunity will come naturally, though. I don't think it's going to be forced on him. You know what I'm saying? It'll come naturally. Now, after RJ, things kind of cooled out for a little bit, right? After RJ was extended, and then there's been 3 Ryan Arcidiacono. What are we doing with Ryan Arcidiacono? I don't have nothing against the guy, but was it last year? I think he was signed and then waived and then re-signed, right?
3 times he got signed.
3 times.
Well, part of that was due to the health and safety protocols.
Right.
For the health and safety protocols and all that stuff.
I think Tibbs seen something in practice.
Familiarity with the team, with the coach and the players. I think it's more of that. You're not just signing someone who doesn't know anything, who has to learn the plays. It's someone who can come in a pinch and, and by a pinch, I mean the team's either up by 30 or down by 30. And
Right.
just, play some minutes at the end of a game, something like that. I think that's pretty much what it's about more than anything.
Yeah.
But I also think Tibbs seen something in practice.
I mean, I guess he's supposed to be, he's scrappy guy, scrappy defender. He didn't get a chance to play a lot with the team last year, so maybe they want to see what he looks like when he gets into training camp or whatever. Let me ask you this, Steph. Ryan Arcidiacono or Miles McBride? Who are you going to first?
Wow, that's wow. The only reason, wow, that's a tough question. But this is what I'll say for Ryan A. This is what I'll say for him. He won. He played for Villanova. He won a championship there. He's a true point guard. Right. He can manage the game. Whereas McBride's going to play great defense. But he's not a natural point guard. But I would probably choose McBride.
Okay. All right. Tony?
I might pick Ryan, to be honest. And it's not even based off of what I've seen. It's based off of I really think he's shown something within the organization, and that's why they keep coming back to him. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he hasn't been on a two-way yet, right? Like McBride's on a two-way. So if you know what I mean, if they felt McBride had the value, why not give him the contract and put Ryan on the two-way?
No, McBride has got a contract, I believe.
Oh, he's got the contract. Okay,
I think he's got a contract because our two-ways are
excuse me.
Fair and Hunt.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, Fair and Hunt and Trevor Kills.
I stand corrected.
Sam, this is Miles McBride, and it's not even close. This is McBride. We're talking defense. We're talking someone who can come out there and knock down 3-point shots whenever we need him to. He's not going to be a sniper or anything like that, but he has the range. And what I like about him and what I think is Brunson's going to bring to the offense, which I'm excited about, mid-range. The mid-range, which has been missing in not only the Knicks, but the NBA for a long time. So I'm picking McBride, and I don't even think this is close. I don't think Arcidiacono even scored a point last season in the limited minutes that he got. Like, I don't understand why it's even.
How many minutes did he even play last year? Oh, he played 10 games last year for the Knicks. He averaged 7.6 points per game.
He scored?
And he shot 44% from the 3-point line.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Like stop.
What'd you say, Steph?
How many assists?
Good question. Let me see. I just had it, lost it. He averaged. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. No, I was looking at something different. Never mind. I was looking at something different. Hold up. He averaged. Hold up. What was I just looking at? I don't know what I was just looking at. His average per game was 1.6 points per game and 0.4 assists in 7 minutes per game. Played 10 games, shot 44% from the 3-point line. I don't know what I was just looking at. Maybe that was one game or something. I don't know. Or maybe that was per 36. Yeah. Maybe it was per 36. I must have scrolled down. Yeah, I scrolled down to per 36. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to get you excited.
7 points.
I guess I can hear, going with Deuce. I guess I'd be going with Deuce too.
And hope it never gets to that point.
Right. Right. I mean,
talking about somebody manning the point guard position.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought he was saying who gets the first opportunity in garbage time. I didn't think he was saying like who gets like the real first shot to be a rotational guy. I don't think either one of them did.
No, I guess I was like, let's say Brunson is out and there's another guy out, and you gotta bring this guy in the second unit or something like that. Which one are you?
I'm going Ryan. Like I want point guard. Like, not saying Deuce can't play, but to run the point I'm going with Ryan. Like easily, in my opinion. And Deuce can play, but he's gonna play for what he's needed for.
I mean,
so now if we need defense, then yeah, I'll go with Deuce. But if we need somebody to run the offense and play with the rest of the guys on the team and kind of run the show, I would have more faith, in Ryan with stability.
To be honest with you, like Deuce last year, for all the 3-point shooting that we talk about, he shot 25% from 3 last year. 1.7 3-point attempts per game, 25%. He shot 29% from the field in 9 minutes per game. 2.2 points, 1 assist. I mean, I think he can shoot. I thought maybe he shot better than that.
Mid-range is deadly, though. I agree, Josh.
Yeah, the mid-range is deadly, without a doubt. He averaged, and they both averaged about the same. No, Ryan Arcidiacono only played 10 games and averaged 7.6 minutes. So.
Yeah, I'm still going with Deuce McBride. I'm sorry. There's no way. Can't even pronounce the. No, I'm not going to go there. Go ahead.
I mean, I guess it's going to depend on what Tom Thibodeau's looking for in that guard. You know what I'm saying? In that player. Maybe if it's all about trust. And I don't think he trusts Deuce as much as people thought earlier in the season. So I guess we'll find out. The Knicks also signed Daquan Jeffries recently. I think he's on an Exhibit 10 contract, right? So every year the Knicks sign guys that are gonna, come into training camp and then probably end up in the G League or waived or whatever it is. I don't know how much of a future. He's a guy that can play some defense. 6'5", 230 pounds. He last played for Houston. He played for Sacramento and Houston last year. Right, so he played for Sacramento in 2019-20. Last year he played for Houston. He played for Houston in 2021, and then he played for Memphis in 21-22. Right, basically he's been a guy that, last year he got 3 minutes per game for the Memphis Grizzlies. He only played 3 games. 24 years old. So, maybe he's a guy that ends up on a G League squad, maybe. A guy that can come in and play some defense. Maybe shoot a little bit. They get a chance to look at him, but I don't see him ending up on the roster. Any thoughts? You think, you see him ending up on the roster anyway? Anybody?
No.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I still haven't done my homework. So I just know the name.
Yeah. And then
play really good in the summer league, though. Play really, really well in the summer league. I've seen a lot of good things from him. I know Sim, we were talking about him when doing the post game shows for the summer league. So,
right. Yeah, we'll see.
Good player.
Yeah, we'll see. And then they signed Svi McCulloch, right, to a non-guaranteed contract. Because I think the Knicks had 2 roster spots, right? So I guess that went to Ryan and Svi. I don't know. Any thoughts about Svi and what he might bring to the team? If I doubt he's going to crack any kind of a lineup, but he is a guy that can play small forward and shooting guard. He can shoot the 3 ball a little bit, about 35% from 3 for his career. He's been in the league since 2018, 2019. He's 24 years old. Last season, he played with the Toronto Raptors, 56. He played 56 games. He averaged 12.8 minutes per game. Any thoughts about him? Anybody?
I don't know much, but I know he has size for the position. Mm-hmm. I think he's another guy that could kind of fight with Hunt and kind of see who could ultimately earn the at this point 3rd string small forward spot. and then maybe insurance policies if Cam is moved or suffers another minor injury.
Minor injury or something like that, right? Yeah.
I'll just say shooting. The Knicks need shooting, and I think this is a insurance policy for that. Because as it stands right now, the best shooters on the team, we're talking about Fournier, maybe Grimes. Outside of those two, we really can't really point to anyone who can really shoot the rock from deep. So I like the fact that we add him on the roster. I think he's gonna provide some competition, but it's gonna take a lot to get him into Tibbs' rotation, as we always talk about. And hopefully, if everything works out, we have another shooter on the roster that can be able to come in and knock some shots down, whether it be off the bench or who knows, in the future. So
yeah, the same. I think it's just shooting. If he makes the roster, he'll be super situational.
Yeah.
My apologies.
McBride's going to be super situational too.
McBride too.
Ryan, Arcidiacono. Yeah.
I thought he was 6'7". They saying he's 6'5", so maybe he's not playing at 3 at all.
Yeah, I mean,
but you guys, a lot of you guys want.
They have him 6'8" though.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought he was like 6'7", 6'8".
When he got his Timbs on.
His New York Timbs.
What was you about to say, Tony? You about to say something else?
No. I mean, I initially thought he was 6'8", 6'7", 6'8" as well. But a lot of people in the chat were saying he's 6'5", or he's not. He doesn't have size for the 3. From everything I saw, I thought he was 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah. So that's the Knicks got their roster going into training camp now.
It's not somebody today too.
Training camp spot. Someone to a training camp spot.
Yeah.
Who they signed to the training camp spot?
Westchester kid. Yeah, some Westchester kid.
Is it Michaels? Or
Quentin Rose.
Quentin Rose. Yeah.
Exhibit 9. Assuming he signed to an Exhibit 9 or Exhibit 10. I didn't even know there was a 9.
I didn't even know there was a 9 either. What's an Exhibit 9? Like, what's
9 days instead of 10 days?
Yeah.
So they have 14 players on traditional deals, 2 two-way players, and 3 players on Exhibit 9 or Exhibit 10 contracts.
Okay. So they have 14 players on traditional deals right now.
Yes.
So they have room for one more.
19 players. They have room for one more.
I have room for one more. And what they've done in the past is, they've let those guys on those Exhibit 10 or 9 deals battle it out to see who's going to get that last roster spot, right? A guy like Farron Hunt could get moved onto the roster, and one of these other guys, get moved into a two-way or something like that. Right. So that might be what they're gonna do now. Just let these guys battle it out.
Yeah, he's 6'8" also.
6'8". So they're looking for those wing positions. They want those wing positions. Maybe
Cam may not make it.
Come on. I knew somebody was gonna say that. Leave Cam alone. Let my man Cam live.
So there we go.
If he's gone, I'm not gonna abandon him like I did not. I'm gonna still follow him and root for him.
Yeah. So there we go. And they may they can take 20 in the training camp, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They got one more.
20. So they got possibly one more if they decide to sign someone. But they only have 14 traditional contracts, and they may try to move someone into that slot. Yeah, so there you go. For the most part, the Knicks roster is filled going into training camp. I wouldn't anticipate, unless something magical happens, or just a can't refuse deal happens. I wouldn't expect the Knicks are going to make any moves right now. Right. You know what I mean? They'll take this roster into training camp. Just from what I've seen with this front office, they like to have some kind of stability going into camp without questions and wondering this and that, And right now the roster is pretty stable. based on the length of time that players have been here. Right now they're just signing guys for training camp deals into the end of the bench. So the offseason for the most part is over unless something comes up. Looking at the offseason in its entirety, what grade would you give this front office for the offseason and the moves that they made or didn't make or however it worked out? And there is, for those who are joining us in the chat, there's a poll in the chat where you can make your vote A, B, C, or D on how the Knicks did this offseason. Tony, I'll start with you.
Solid B. And had it not been, if I took the Donovan Mitchell saga out, it would skyrocket to, maybe an A- or a solid A. So I'm gonna go solid B overall.
Okay. Josh?
So Sam, I don't do the minuses and the pluses. I just stick with it, right? So I'm going to go with a B here. And I think what's preventing me from giving the Knicks an A is because I didn't like what they did on draft night and the whole Donovan Mitchell thing. But I thought the signings that they did were really good. The extensions that they did were really good as far as the amount of money. Even though Mitch, I think Mitch got overpaid a little bit. Shout out to Tony. But I think the Knicks are a solid B for this offseason in the front office. And if they would have got Donovan Mitchell, to me, that would have been an A. But
okay.
They didn't get him, so.
All right.
Or what if the saga had not even been a question?
No, that has nothing to do with it. I'm not like, no, I'm not emotional with the whole saga and all that.
No.
I think we either get him.
What I'm saying is, if Mitchell wasn't traded at all, no speculation, nothing, what would you grade it?
Still the same.
B?
Yes.
Okay. Steph, what about you?
B minus, C plus, which is probably right there with each other. And I think you got major points off for poor grammar and a wrinkled paper, So,
right.
Yeah, I would say that I thought Mitch was overpaid as well. I thought I love the RJ Barrett signing. I love the Brunson signing as well. And I just think they fumbled, at the 1 yard line when it came to Donovan Mitchell. I took some points off of that.
Yeah. And me, I'm at a B to a B minus in the same range. And it's because of the Donovan Mitchell negotiations for me. And like, for me, you have to include the negotiations, even though Donovan Mitchell was never on your team. I feel like you have to include it because you made moves to prepare to get Donovan Mitchell, right? Because, somewhere along the line before it ever came out that he was available, they knew, which I think is one of the reasons why you've seen them make those moves during the draft. So I think, it has to be a part of it. And I'm with the same thing. That really kind of brings it down for me. If it wasn't for that, I would be closer to an A for the draft. I mean, not for the draft, for the offseason. Because I think they, maybe Mitch, so maybe it'd be like an A minus B plus or something like that. Because maybe Mitch was a little bit overpaid. I think I like the Jalen Brunson deal and contract. I like RJ Barrett's deal. You know what I'm saying? Hartenstein, and then if there weren't any rumblings anywhere at the time and Donovan Mitchell was going to stay in Utah, you have to wonder if they did something different at the draft too. Because I think that was also part of it. Jalen Brunson was part of it, but I also think Donovan Mitchell getting those draft picks was part of it too.
Sam, can I add just a little bit more context to this conversation? Just a little bit. The Knicks are currently going into next season. They're still bottom third in the NBA in payroll at $140 million. They're over by $17 million now instead of, I thought it was $7 million last season. So it's now $17 million. And their average age dropped from 27 to now 25, which is on par with Detroit Pistons, Minnesota Timberwolves, stuff like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. The Knicks are still bottom tier as far as payroll, bottom tier as far as age. So
that's a good spot. And for a team that, could should be competitive, right? I wonder if this whole thing never happened with Donovan Mitchell, or if there weren't any rumblings, would they have went harder after what's his name from San Antonio?
And if you put that into the equation, Sim, then
Murray.
that brings things down for me. Murray, your guy, Queen.
Murray.
But wasn't it with Murray and Brunson? You thought they would have brought Murray? Wasn't it Murray versus Brunson? You think they would have brought both of them in?
Mm-mm. No, the talks was both.
Yeah,
The talks were
really?
both.
the talks were both, right?
And I even had the argument that I felt like Murray. I know you hate when I say it, Queen, but I felt like Murray Brunson was a better fit than Mitchell Brunson, especially coming into this system with the Knicks and Tibbs. And I that's where I thought they fumbled. In my opinion, like if I'm bringing things down, but I know you guys disagree because I mean, at least you, Queen, because of Donovan's talent and him proven star, and I get your argument. I think sometimes fit makes the world of a difference, in my opinion.
Sometimes
No, I agree.
you don't have a star. The Knicks need a star. So I like Murray instead of Brunson. You tie up your salary in Murray and Brunson, that's okay, but you're not a championship. You know, you don't.
Yeah,
You still need to go out and get a number one, even if you
get a
have
star
Murray
guy.
and Brunson on. You still gonna need to go out and get a number one.
Okay.
But my argument to that was everybody felt the same way with Mitchell. Like no, everybody.
Yeah, me neither.
I did.
You guys, I mean, I've heard you say like we still need another piece. He wasn't
Right, another piece is different than the number one.
Right.
That's different.
Oh, the piece you say the other. I thought you when you said that, I thought you meant somebody above him. Like Mitchell's going to be the number two. You were saying just another piece to solidify things.
If we can, yeah. But I think Mitchell, like I don't like the argument. I'm not saying that you have this argument, but I don't like the argument when people say, "Well, what did he do in Utah?" Like he's a number one guy. Just that they didn't surround him with the talent that was needed in order to get them to the next level, particularly in the Western Conference. So yeah, I think Mitchell can be a number one in this league, and I think on Cleveland he will be that number one.
Because that was always my argument too. If you feel like he's the number one, then yeah. If it costs 7 picks, go get him. Like I don't care about what it costs to get him. And not saying he wasn't a number one because he has been, but he wasn't. Or let me rephrase it. If you feel like he's that final piece, that missing piece, then you give up everything you got to do to get him. That's what I think Minnesota did. Like that's why I feel like granted, you may not believe in them. I think they believe Gobert was a missing piece. Like now we're in contention, so we don't mind.
So you can go all out because that's a missing piece, or you can go all out because this is your building block.
Yeah.
Either you could do it either way. We would have still needed to build around.
And that's where that cover discussion comes in.
Right. He wasn't the missing piece, but that piece is harder to get.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Mitchell is harder to get. And so whenever it comes around and you have the opportunity to get it, it may not be an ideal opportunity given what your roster is at the time, but if you have the opportunity, I believe you got to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got this roster going into the season. Training camp should begin what, next Tuesday?
Yes.
Whatever the 27th is. Let me see. What? Yeah, Tuesday.
It's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday,
yeah.
Right? So they should have media day on Monday, and then training camp begin next Tuesday. I'm looking forward to it, man. And then right after that, 2 weeks after that, they'll have the first. A week after that, training camp begins next week, and then on the 4th, we'll get a chance to see what they look like out there on the floor, man. So definitely excited for it. We'll be doing a bunch of breakdowns, ladies and gentlemen, on how players fit. Obviously news coming out of training camp. Breakdowns of the roster and all kinds of stuff. So just stay looking for it. You know what I mean? On media day, I plan on, being on, being live streaming during media day, we're talking about what the players are saying or have said, or I don't know if I'm going to do it after or what. I have to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Any last words before we head up out of here?
Go Knicks. I mean, we have a balanced roster. I believe RJ, Brunson, and Randall are our best players. And if we're going to make the playoffs, or even the play-in, those three guys are going to have to ball out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Josh?
I don't hate RJ.
You don't hate RJ. You just despise him. I don't hate him. I just despise him. No, it's like him.
Yet to be determined.
Right. Tony?
It's always a pleasure to share the panel with you guys. I appreciate it. I love it. And let's go Knicks, but let's go MBK and let's go MBK fan.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
And growing.
No doubt.
Let's get Queen to that 1,000 too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Doso Sports Talk.
It's at like what is it, 770, 67, 770 or something like that. All you guys got to do, ladies and gentlemen, is hit that subscribe button. You know what I mean? Hit that subscribe button. Let's get them numbers up there.
Yeah, I'll drop the link if I can get it fast enough. I got to put it somewhere where it's easily,
where you can easily get it, right? Let me see.
And don't have to keep going back. I got it. I don't have to keep going back. But whenever
Microsoft Word.
Yeah, save it. That's the link. Right? You're right. But it never comes out as a link when I do it. I don't know why.
Oh, you know what? I need to make Dope Soul Sports Talk a mod, and then I think it will. I need to make your thing a mod.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it will. Here, I got it up. I put it in the chat.
Okay.
There it is. So as soon as you guys leave here, ladies and gentlemen, go subscribe to Dope Soul Sports Talk.
Let's
get that up to 1,000. Tony hit 1,000. We got to get everybody up above that threshold, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it.
Right.
Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on Friday. Today's Wednesday, right? Yeah, I'll be back on Friday. I finally got called in for jury duty, so I'll be at jury duty tomorrow. I got to report at 9 a.m.
If the glove does not fit, you must quit.
So there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Appreciate your time. Be peaceful.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.